Hi, this is Taylor Crawl, and in this video I will be designing and manufacturing a motor mount for the electric car, so let's get to it. First of all, we started off with freehand drawings, and then once we got these drawings I put them into AutoCAD, and then from AutoCAD went to Mastercam. And as you can see, I use Mastercam to write the program for the CNC machine. And now we move on to the actual CNC prototype. As you can see, I used a piece of insulation foam to cut out my part. This foam worked really well because it gave a great representation of the actual physical design of what it was going to be when the part got finished. Now these are some of the operations the CNC performed to machine my piece. And that is the finished prototype of the mount, which we will then move on to scoring up the raw stock. Now, as you can tell, the dimensions were borderline spot on. And this is just some of the ways that I had to set up the manual mill to score up the stock. I also had to use the dial indicator to get my dimensions as close as possible as I could. And also, as you see here, I used clamps. That was basically just to help with vibration as it was cutting. Once again, I had to use dial indicators, and I only faced half of it, which is all I needed to face for it, really. Which then I moved on to the CNC mill, and here I'm setting up a drilling operation, as you can tell. And there's what it looks like when the CNC was done with it, which then I moved on and tapped them, and the threads turned out pretty good. So during this part I will move on to the machining of the actual base. As you can see, this is a time-lapse video. Right now I'm just setting up all the tool heights and parameters. I think the overall machine time on this was, I think, only around 45 minutes or so, which is quite a while, but it wasn't too bad, really. What I should have done is put a clock on the CNC so you could have watched how long it actually took me in real time compared to this 2-minute short little clip here. so the CNC is pretty much done right now. And there's what the finished part came out like. And both parts fit together. Who knew? Now I moved on to a facing operation on the manual mill, and I tilted the head at 22.5 degrees to do this operation. Now the reason I did this, because basically it made it look good. And that is the finished base. Now I'll move on to the machining of the actual mount. As you can see, this is another time-lapse video. As you can see, I'm machining the top part of the motor mount in this video. It did not take very long to do so, probably only about, I'd say 5 minutes or so. So I flipped the piece over, dialed it back in, and away we went. After the drilling operation is completed, I changed the CNC to an end mill, as you can see, and just started cutting circles. As you can see, it was cutting rather slow, so I think it took about 15 minutes per whole pass, if you will, and it took a total of 5 passes, so there's an hour and 15 minutes of just standing there watching the machine go round and round. Now that it's cutting out the big circle, it will begin cutting the small center hole. If I had to do this all over again, I would have changed, instead of actually cutting out the entire center, it would have just cut a ring, if you will, that would have went all the way through, so it would have dropped a little slug of material through the center. Instead of watching it, cut out all this material, it wouldn't really made a difference, it just would have saved a lot of time. Now the CNC is not going to really look like it's doing anything, but it's working on its final passes. It's taking off around 5 to 10 thousandths to give you a smooth finish, and instead of roughing, it gets you to your exact dimensions. Here's the piece when the CNC was finished with it. I think it turned out pretty well, just like I drew it up. And here are both pieces. Here are both pieces together. So that's what I started with and ended with. And here's what it looks like on the electric car. Alrighty, I hope you liked this video, and thanks for watching.